My name is Mandira. Welcome to AglaSem, and today we are going to be studying Class 9, Chapter number 5, Working of Institutions. So in this chapter, it's the second last chapter of the book, and in this chapter we're going to study about how the different sects of the country work. So basically democracy में जो तीन main जो pillars of democracy हम कहते हैं कि legislature, executive and then judiciary, how these systems work, they are interdependent but they are still dependent on one another in an indirect way. So किस तरीके से relationship काम करता है, how it works, who is the decision maker, why is there a need for political institutions, how does the parliament work, judiciary कैसे काम करती है. In a snapshot, we will study about all these things in this chapter. So let's get on quickly with the first main heading, which is that of how is a major policy decision taken. So यहाँ पे page number 79 पे it is described the office memorandum that was about 27% reservation for socially and educationally backward classes in civil posts and services. So ये एक memorandum issue किया हुआ है. Now we will study the journey कि ये कैसे issue हुआ है and who were all the people who are involved in the decision making of this process and what all happened. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the decision makers. Okay. So firstly मैं आपको बताती हूँ छोटा सा कि ये bill किस बारे में है. This is about 27% of vacancies in civil posts and services under the government of India be reserved for socially and educationally backward classes, SEBC जिसको कहते हैं. SEBC is another name for all those people who belong to castes that are considered backward by the government, and the benefit of the job reservation was till then available only to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. लेकिन अब उसके बाद इसको थोड़ा सा socially जो backward classes हैं और educationally backward classes हैं उनके लिए extend किया गया about 27% reservation. Okay, so अब ये जो हमारा एक it is a pretty controversial bill क्योंकि इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा बात and discussion and बहुत ज़्यादा protests भी हुए थे. So that's what we are going to be talking about. First, let's see who the decision maker was. So the decision makers. Number one, हमें ये पता होना चाहिए some basics that president is the head of the state, whereas prime minister is head of the government. So जो ruling party है, जो जीती है elections, जो उनके head होते हैं उनको prime minister कहते हैं. But the impartial head of the country, kind of you can say the state, is the president. Okay. Parliament consists of the president in two other houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, as you know, and the prime minister must have the support of the majority of Lok Sabha members. ठीक है, राज्य सभा जो होते हैं वो indirectly elected members होते हैं. मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया हुआ है कि वो कैसे process उसका होता है. ठीक है, so अब हम बात करते हैं इस बिल की. Office memorandum जो एक issue हुआ है. The government of India had appointed second backward classes commission in 1979. It was headed by B.P. Mandal, जो एक नाम है इन्हीं का. Hence, it was popularly called the Mandal Commission. It was asked to determine the criteria to identify socially and educationally backward classes in India. ठीक है, 27% reservation यहाँ पे किया. अब क्या इनकी authority है, हम फटाफट बात करते हैं. The President of India in his address to the Parliament announced the intention of the government to implement the recommendations of the Mandal Commission. 6 August 1990 को Union Cabinet ने formal decision लिया. Union Cabinet मतलब जो एक cabinet ministry होती है. और नेक्स्ट डे प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे उस टाइम वीपी सिंह, हु इन्फॉर्म्ड द पार्लियामेंट अबाउट द डिसीजंस थ्रू अ स्टेटमेंट इन बोथ हाउसेस. उन्होंने बताया कि ये कमीशन की फाइंडिंग्स को अब हम इम्प्लीमेंट करने जा रहे हैं. द डिसीजन ऑफ द कैबिनेट वाज सेंट टू द डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पर्सनल एंड ट्रेनिंग, और उन्होंने ही ये जो मेमो है वो निकाला. ठीक है, सो फॉर अ फ्यू मंथ्स दिस वाज हॉटली डिबेटेड क्योंकि रिजर्वेशन का टॉपिक था. अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल थॉट कि ऑलरेडी कास्ट के बेस पे रिजर्वेशन है और रिजर्वेशन करेंगे तो बाकी के लोगों को अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिलनी बंद हो जाएंगी और कम हो जाएंगी. एंड ऑब्वियसली जो सोशली और एजुकेशनली डिसएडवांटेज सेक्शन थे, दे वर फाइटिंग फॉर द रिजर्वेशन कि वी वांट इट बिकॉज हम लोगों को एक्चुअली वो वाली अपॉर्चुनिटी के लिए दिस इज अ प्रीटी गुड बिल. एनीवे, इतना ज्यादा डिस्प्यूट हुआ, बहुत सारे, आपने कभी सर्च करके देखना, बहुत प्रोटेस्ट हुए, आग वाग भी लगी, बहुत जगह मतलब वायलेंट प्रोटेस्ट हुए थे कई जगह इनके. फाइनली सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस ने 1992 में डिक्लेयर कर दिया दिस ऑर्डर वाज वैलिड एंड द प्रोटेस्ट हैड टू बी लाइक स्टॉप्ड. ओके, बिकॉज दिस ऑर्डर वाज डीम्ड एज वैलिड बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट. ठीक है, सो ऑब्वियसली इसमें हमने बहुत सारी फ्लीटिंगली हमने बात करी है पॉलिटिकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस की, प्राइम मिनिस्टर की बात करी, प्रेसिडेंट की बात करी, सिविल सर्वेंट्स की बात करी. तो अब हम बात करते हैं एक्चुअली इन तीनों की थोड़ा सा डिटेल में जाके. ठीक है, सो लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द नेक्स्ट हेडिंग विच इज दैट ऑफ द पार्लियामेंट. पार्लियामेंट क्या होती है, व्हाई डू वी नीड अ पार्लियामेंट. पार्लियामेंट होती है हमारे इलेक्टेड रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स, ठीक है। पार्लियामेंट कंसिस्ट ऑफ 2 हाउसेस जिसको हम कहते हैं लोकसभा एंड राज्यसभा. Both have members that are elected by us. In Rajya Sabha they are indirectly elected by us, but in Lok Sabha they are elected by us in डायरेक्टली हम उनको जाके वोट देते हैं. जैसे हमारे एरिया के आपके एमपी कौन है, आप फाइंड आउट करना कि मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट कौन है आपके एरिया से जिनको आपने वोट दिया था लोकसभा इलेक्शंस में, ठीक है. सो ही इज द मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर पासिंग द लॉज, फॉर मेकिंग द लॉज ऑफ द कंट्री. ओके, सो ऑब्वियसली हम बात करते हैं कि क्या क्या पॉलिटिकल अथॉरिटी पार्लियामेंट के पास होती है. नंबर 1, final authority for making laws. As I said, the task of law making and legislation is so crucial that these assemblies are called legislatures, because legislatures pass kar rahe, legal laws pass kar rahe, theek hai, that's why. Number 2, parliaments all over the world exercise some control over those who run the government. In countries like India, this control is direct and full. Those who run the government can take decisions only so as they enjoy the support of the parliament. ठीक है, तो हमारी जो एक implementation वाली branch है उनको भी support करते हैं. Number 3, they control all the money the governments have. In most countries, any public money can be spent only when the parliament sanctions it. In fact, इसमें लोकसभा का power थोड़ा ज्यादा होता है राज्यसभा से, because राज्यसभा is not really involved in money matters. ठीक है. Number 4, it is the highest forum for discussion and debate on public issues and national policy making. ठीक है, किसी भी डिबेट पे, किसी भी आपको इशू पे डिबेट करने के लिए पार्लियामेंट में it is the highest level of forum. Okay. So we've already talked about the 2 houses of Lok Sabha, the Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. I will just let you know in short कि इसको upper house और lower house भी कहते हैं, but that does not mean that one is more powerful than the other. Our constitution does not give Rajya Sabha special powers over the states, but in most matters the Lok Sabha exercises supreme power. ठीक है, थोड़ी बहुत मतलब मनी मैटर्स पे लोकसभा को एक हल्का सा बेनिफिट है, अदरवाइज ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि एक हाउस मैटर करता है और दूसरा नहीं करता, both of them matter. Okay, so any ordinary law that needs to be passed by the both houses. But if there is a difference between the 2 houses, the final decision is taken in a joint session in which both members of the houses sit together. Because of the larger number of members in the Lok Sabha, obviously उनका ही most probably they win. So क्या होता है कि अगर लोकसभा और राज्यसभा में disagreement है तो joint session करा के उसकी majority ले ली जाती है. Because the number of people that are elected in the Lok Sabha are more, obviously they have an edge there. Then they exercise more powers in the money matters. Once Lok Sabha passes the budget of the government or any other money related law, the Rajya Sabha cannot reject it. They can delay it by 14 days, but that's it. उसके आगे वो उसको reject नहीं कर सकते. Most importantly, Lok Sabha controls the Council of Ministers. Only a person who enjoys the support of the majority of members in the Lok Sabha is appointed the Prime Minister. If the majority of Lok Sabha say that they don't have any confidence, no confidence in the Council of Ministers, all ministers including the Prime Minister have to quit. राज्यसभा में ऐसा कोई पावर नहीं होता. वहां पे इनफैक्ट आप देखोगे कि स्टेट्स में अलग अलग गवर्नमेंट्स होती हैं तो अलग अलग पार्टीज के मेंबर्स होते हैं और ऐसा कोई नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन वाला या कोई लीडर नहीं होता लोकसभा का, सॉरी राज्यसभा का. लोकसभा के तो लीडर होते हैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट हम बात करते हैं पॉलिटिकल एग्जीक्यूटिव की. एग्जीक्यूटिव क्या होता है कि functionaries who take day-to-day decisions but do not exercise supreme power. Okay, obviously they do not have any kind of very supreme kind of power, but they do day-to-day activities. So you can imagine कि जो legislature होता है वो executive के बिना काम नहीं कर सकता. ठीक है, executive होते हैं हमारे civil servants, IAS officers, IPS officers, जो DMs है ना, ये सारी जो हमारी एक branches of political executive जो होता है हमारा. ठीक है, political leaders who take big decisions fall under this category. Obviously in second category people are appointed in long-term basis. These are called the permanent executive or civil services. The persons working in civil services are called civil servants. They remain in office regardless of who the ruling party is. तो अगर एक बार कोई IRS officer, IAS officer, IPS officer बन गए तो बीजेपी पावर में है, आम आदमी पार्टी पावर में है या फिर कांग्रेस पावर में है और n number of parties TMC पावर में है, doesn't matter, they will continue to do their jobs. Okay, so they are independent of the party that is currently the ruling party. Okay. अब पॉलिटिकल एग्जीक्यूटिव को कहते हैं कि they have more power than non-political executive. Why? Because the civil servant is usually more educated and more expert, or he has more expert knowledge on the subject. The advisors working in the finance ministry know more about economics than the finance minister. Sometimes the ministers may know very little about technical matters that come under their ministry. This could easily happen in ministries like defense, health, science. अब आप imagine करो कि for instance I am currently doing my PhD in a certain sort of subject, ठीक है, तो obviously जो mastery मुझे या मेरे professors को उस subject पे है, वो एक politician को उस subject पे नहीं हो सकती. So जो अगर health I am doing it in a field of health, so health policy making जो decisions हैं वो एक set of professionals who have been working in the field for a long time उनको preference मिलनी चाहिए. Obviously they will have more knowledge. The similar cases with civil servants. उनको implementation का कई सालों का experience होता है, whereas the minister अभी अपॉइंट हुए हैं प्लस हर 5 साल में बदलते रहते हैं usually, so they might not have as much experience. Okay, so the democracy of the in a democracy the will of people is supreme. The minister is elected by the people and thus empowered to exercise the will of the people on their behalf. ठीक है, तो finally she is answerable to the consequences of her decision. So the minister is not expected to be an expert in the matter of ministry, but the minister takes advice from experts in all technical matters. So obviously he has more power because he has been directly elected by the people. Okay, then we come to the prime minister and council of ministers. इसमें हम थोड़ी सी बात करते हैं कैबिनेट मिनिस्ट्री की क्या होता है. कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर क्या होता है? टॉप लेवल लीडर्स ऑफ द रूलिंग पार्टी और पार्टीज हु आर इन चार्ज ऑफ मेजर मिनिस्ट्रीज लाइक यू कैन से डिफेंस पोर्टफोलियोज होते हैं ना, जो डिफेंस मिनिस्टर और एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर, टेक्सटाइल और मेजर जो मतलब थोड़े उसके एक वो होते हैं हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री. आपको पता होगा डॉक्टर हर्षवर्धन इज अ हेल्थ मिनिस्टर, है ना, तो अभी कोरोना क्राइसिस में आपने बार बार उनका नाम सुना होगा जरूर. सो दैट्स अ वेरी मेजर पोर्टफोलियो. ही इज पार्ट ऑफ द काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स. मिनिस्टर्स ऑफ स्टेट विद इंडिपेंडेंट चार्ज आर यूजुअली मिनिस्टर्स ऑफ स्मॉलर मिनिस्ट्रीज. ठीक है, तो आई डोंट नो इसका एक एग्जाम्पल बट माइट बी दैट वेरी स्मॉल स्केल कोई इंडस्ट्री, उसके मिनिस्टर. Minister of State are attached to and required to assist cabinet ministers. So they are a bit smaller scale who are expected to help the cabinet ministry. Okay, this is the hierarchy of the prime minister and the minister of the cabinet ministry, council of ministers. ठीक है. The prime minister, अच्छा ये एक confusion a lot of time it arises. प्राइम मिनिस्टर का टेन्योर फिक्स नहीं होता है. सो एज लॉन्ग एज द रूलिंग पार्टी कीप्स गेटिंग इलेक्टेड, द प्राइम मिनिस्टर कैन बी द प्राइम मिनिस्टर फॉर लेट्स से 5, 10, 15, 20 एनी नंबर ऑफ इयर्स. ठीक है, उनका एक फिक्स टेन्योर नहीं होता, बट उनकी पार्टी जो है उसको रूलिंग पार्टी की तरह इलेक्ट होना पड़ेगा आफ्टर 5 years. सो दैट्स द कैच. ओके, सो नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द पावर्स ऑफ द प्राइम मिनिस्टर कि एक्चुअली उनके पास क्या पावर है प्राइम मिनिस्टर के पास. First of all, the Prime Minister distributes and redistributes the work among ministers. He also has the power to dismiss ministers. वो ही decide करते हैं कि इसको कौन सी ministry देंगे. And if someone is not doing the job well, then they can obviously kick them out. The powers of the Prime Minister in all parliamentary democracies have increased so much in the recent decades that parliamentary democracies are sometimes seen as prime ministerial form of government. बहुत ज़्यादा power Prime Minister को होती है. He controls the cabinet, parliament through the party. The media also contributes to this trend by making politics elections as competition between top leaders. कहते हैं ना अभी आज की डेट में if someone says NDA alliance or BJP, you know that they are talking about नरेंद्र मोदी जी, है ना, तो एक बड़े टॉप लेवल लीडर है. Everybody is really influenced by him, so that's how he has a lot of power even in the media. इसमें लिखा है नेहरू का एग्जाम्पल, इंदिरा गांधी जी का एग्जाम्पल. obviously they have been influential prime ministers of our country. Okay, so the minister of a coalition government cannot take decision as he likes. He has to accommodate different groups and factions, है ना. He also has to heed the views of positions of coalition partners. So it is not a very very effective form of government. अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर अपनी तरफ से कोई डिसीजन नहीं ले पा रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ अपीजमेंट टू डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ पार्टीज, देन इट इज नॉट अ वेरी इफेक्टिव फॉर्म. बट आज की डेट में हमारे पास एक एब्सोल्यूट मेजोरिटी वाली गवर्नमेंट है फॉर्चुनेटली, and they can take decisions as they like. So right now the prime minister definitely has a lot of power. Okay, next हम president के लिए आते हैं. president जो होता है it's basically nominal powers होती हैं. It is a very customary kind of position. इतनी ज्यादा powers उनके पास directly होती नहीं है. The prime minister, the president supervises overall functioning of political institutions in general. एंड बिल पास करने में प्रेसिडेंट का होता है थोड़ा बहुत रोल, वेयर दे हैव टू दे कैन वीटो इट. एक बिल को वो वीटो कर सकते हैं. दैट एज आपने पढ़ा होगा अबाउट वीटो पावर कि एक बार इनडेफिनेटली टाल सकते हैं या कई सालों के लिए टाल सकते हैं. दिस इज द ओनली थिंग प्रेसिडेंट कैन डू. एंड मतलब नॉट ओनली बट या ओनली इन्फ्लुएंशियल थिंग. और उनके पास कुछ डिस्क्रेशनरी पावर्स होती हैं. अगर स्टेट ऑफ इमरजेंसी इज इम्पोज्ड इन द कंट्री देन द प्रेसिडेंट बिकम्स रियली पावरफुल. बट until that happens, and that happens very rarely, the Prime Minister is the most powerful person. Okay? So all laws and major policy are issued in the name of the president. All major appointments are made in the name of the president. अरे वाह, इसमें updated picture भी है. Shri Pranab Mukherjee, unfortunately I think he passed away अभी थोड़े दिनों पहले, but yeah, you can have a look. Currently हमारे president का नाम, please you can comment it down. He's actually belongs to I think बहुत ही एक special sect of the population, so it's very good that our president is coming from that sect. I feel very happy कि अच्छी बात है. I think पहले भी ऐसा हो चुका है, so please do comment. मैं आपको hint दे रही हूँ. चलो. Okay, so हाँ जी, next चलते हैं about the president can ask the council of ministers to reconsider their advice, but if the same advice is given again, they are bound to act on it. So they don't have much power. Similarly, a bill, if it's passed, it can become a law if only president gives assent to it. They can delay it for some time, but they cannot really refuse to pass the bill. Okay, so these are the kind of powers. India में जो है presidential system में बहुत कम powers है. President का इतना power नहीं है. Okay, let's come to the final topic of the chapter, which is that of judiciary. So judiciary, this refers to the system of courts in our country. ठीक है? So if there was nothing like a Supreme Court in the country, तो क्या होता? आप imagine करो. If there was nothing, if there was a Supreme Court and he had no powers, if they had power, nobody trusted them, and if they gave a fair judgment, and if those who appealed against the government did not accept the judgment. Obviously, this is not very ideal scenario. So judiciary जो है वो हमारी बहुत important है for the following reasons. Number one, they solve the disputes between the citizens of the country, between the citizens and the government, between two or more state governments, or between the government and union, or at the union or state level. अभी recently corona crisis में there was some sort of tussle between the Delhi state government and the central government, and the high courts and the Supreme Courts had to intervene in order to make sure that oxygen was getting delivered in sufficient amounts in the state. So this is a classic example of how the judiciary intervenes between conflicts that happen between the center and the state government. Okay. Independence of judiciary means that they are not under the control of the legislature or executive. वो दोनों को डांट लगा सकते हैं, and I think उस verdict में ऐसा ही हुआ था that they were pointing out the mistakes of the state government as well as the central government. So ऐसा नहीं है कि दोनों ही ruling parties हैं अपने अपने state में और center में, but they do not have any power technically over the judicial system. So this is very important because otherwise जो भी ruling party में party elect होगी वो तो अपने हिसाब से ही हर चीज चलाएंगे. It's very important to have someone who can mediate the conflicts and who is not biased in a certain direction. Okay, so the judiciary of India is also one of the most powerful in the world. The Supreme Court, High Courts have the power to interpret the Constitution. They can declare invalid, any law they think is invalid, वो जा सकते हैं. और या कोई भी ऐसी judgment है जो आप उनको लगता है कि it's not abiding by the rules of the Constitution, they can declare it invalid. So the powers of the independence of Indian judiciary allow it to act as the guardian of fundamental rights. किसी की भी, as I told you, कि ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई ruling party elect हो गई है तो उसको डांट नहीं पड़ सकती, because the court has the authority to do that. Okay, so I hope you understood all the concepts of this chapter. If you have any questions, feel free to comment them, and do subscribe to the channel. Thank you for listening to me.